Let's go ahead and do, you have a quorum.
We have a
Barely.
Everyone's there.
There we go, Carolyn, all right, we're all official. All right, we'll start with the first introductions,
Thank you,
going
good
around the room. Marsha?
Marsha Austin, resident and homeowner, by the way, that's not on the, not that makes a big deal. Ybor City and, at large. Gloria. Real estate Arian, pretty manager, people, member of our.
Olivia A, Storrington Corporation, property owner, member at large.
Jack Smith, resident member at large. Michael Murphy, residential media company member at large.
David Bailey, resident, developer, and representing Historic Ybor Neighborhood Civic Association.
Chris Voidovich, member and homeowner and neighbor of Marcia's. At large.
Steve Barbas, Ybor City Museum Society.
Township Roads, homeowner and representative for the Historic East Ybor and Gary Neighborhood Association.
Good morning. Mark McGee, operation manager of the Ybor City Ambassador Program, and now I can say resident as well. Stephen of our operations supervisor, the Ybor City S team.
Yeah.
Us as well.
Sure.
Dean Reed, economic development coordinator, the CRA.
Andrew Rossi, member of the Sierra.
Celeste Ball with CRA.
Tiffany Mitchell with CRA. Katrina House, CRA.
James Lana, I'm one of your Ybor City liaisons with them as well. Mark Pollock, same thing as well.
Jeff Vasquez, also Ybor City Liaison Officer.
Lee Bell, Ybor Chamber.
Alec Husky, Ybor Chair.
With that law enforcement.
Robert Allen, HCB Associates.
Troy Buckles, Federal Office, City of Tampa Parking.
Jason Winquist, City of Tampa Parking as well.
Oh, hi everyone, I'm Tim Spearman. I'm the small business navigator for the city of Tampa. We're here to provide any resources to local business owners or entrepreneurs in the community. If you need my information, my card is on the wall, as well as I'd be happy to assist you after this meeting, or you can find my contact information.
Pretty married business owner. And Brenda Brower, Ybor CRA manager.
Great. Welcome, everyone. Hope everyone's summer is going well and you're all staying cool. Do we have anyone here wishing to make a public comment? Seeing none, the minutes from the April 22nd meeting are in your packet. If everyone had a chance to review, do we have no information?
I actually have some, requested amendments. Sure. The first one is in the part where we talk about the parking garage. And, I realize we're having a presentation today, but it says there was a motion to ask the city parking manager to attend the next meeting. And I felt like it was a bit more, contentious and I feel like it should be included in the minutes that David did not feel that the CRA should be responsible for making those improvements for the parking garage, that the city should. And I feel like the minutes should reflect that.
Okay.
And then the second one is in the budget. And that is, there was a motion to approve the budget, and then there's two additions there. And it does not include my request to have tree maintenance as a line item. And I remember at that time, Brenda, you said, well, why don't we put it as beautification? And I said, and I think Carolyn seconded it, beautification is one of the first things to get knocked off the list. So we should list it as sustainability. And that's the maintenance for the, and we asked to be put in quality of life and community improvement. And that's for the trees for Tampa, which they've already allotted a lot of trees for people. But the big issue is how are we going to maintain it?
So you wanted to add tree, watering
and or maintenance.
Watering, yeah, it's under district improvements. You actually had it in there, streetscape trees. You had it already in there, but I can specify. It's not a deal. Thank you.
And since we're revisiting that, we also got sidewalks added.
Sidewalk was already in there. Yeah, when I look back, we already had it.
That is here.
It's actually under district improvements. That's what you, and you actually in Ybor 2, you actually spelled those out. So You were safe, but you were included. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's been a few modifications and cleanups on the minutes. We have a second to amend as stated.
I'll second to adopt as amended.
Okay, all in favor of the motion, say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And we'll start off with some updates from Tampa Police Department.
Everybody hear me okay? Everybody see me okay? Yep. All right. So one call, Police Department, I have the pleasure of being the, one of the supervisors for the Ybor squad. Unfortunately, Captain College couldn't make it today, so they sent us, which is actually works out for us because then we can see us. We can see us. Good time. So I want to direct your attention to some of the stats that we have going on, some of the major changes. If you guys have any questions, stop me. I'll be happy to answer. And if I don't have the answer, my two officers here who actually work the area intimately will be more than happy to answer your question. Okay? All right. So for your Ybor City dashboard, May 2025 selected offenses. First one I want to draw your attention to is the aggravated assaults. The year-to-date change is dropped by 50%. So that's really good for us because that's going to be any major violent crime with a weapon, knives, guns, bats, nuclear warheads, rocket launcher, whatever that should be. So that's that 50% drop from last year. We're really happy with that. Excuse me. So then we move on to larceny. This is a big one that I wanted to draw y'all's attention to. This is going to be your major theft stuff. So this could be someone steals a candy bar from 7-Eleven. It could be somebody breaks into a car. That has had almost 20% jump. That's a problem. So what we're trying to tell people when we come to these meetings is make sure, especially my residents and my community leaders, make sure people are locking their car doors because these tend to be crimes of opportunity. And this is where people get guns and guns that are on the street. Like that. So that's bad. We want to prevent that as much as we can. Any questions about that one? Cool. All right. So moving on to vehicle theft. That has also jumped. Last year up to this point, we're at 5. This year we're at 7. That is a misleading percentage because that ends up being kind of a lead off from the first larceny. Because if I open the car door's unlocked, and there happens to be a key fob inside of it, that car is now mine. So I think those two play off of each other, okay? Another one I want to draw your attention to is the liquor law violation. So that's up 1,000%. Thank you very much. This is a program that our DUI units have actually spearheaded. We got a lot of complaints about underage drinking in some of these bars. So our DUI unit actually put a bunch of officers through training of how to combat this, mostly focused on fake IDs. Okay, so if you guys have any questions about that, please let me know. Cool. And lastly, and most certainly not least, are traffic stops. Traffic stops are up by 13.8% this is just in the Ybor City area. I'm a big fan of this because I believe that the more contacts that we have with the public, the better chance we have to not only see who's driving around the community, to see what they may be up to. So again, this is stopped cars. This isn't tickets. Just because we stop a car doesn't mean that we're going to be citing someone. I've never seen it as my job to inconvenience the soccer mom. It is my job to find the bad guy in the community, see what they're up to, and if they're up to bad things, try and find a reason to take them to jail. So I like that the traffic stops are up as well. Do we have any questions about that? Cool. I also wanted to tell you, we were actually just talking about it now. I'm sure James can elaborate on it a little more, but the camera systems have been fixed, which is good. We're a big fan of that. We're taking down during the hurricane over the past couple of weeks, so we've all gone back up, so we got more eyes. Cool. And also, I know that the homeless population has been kind of ramping up a little more. It's warmer out. We can talk about urban windows theory and the temperature that crime statistics happen at and everything later. But essentially, last week, we made 3 felony drug arrests just based off of homeless encounters. So we are working on that, particularly focusing on panhandling aspect, particularly the aggressive panhandlers. Done? Any questions from me? All right, if y'all, yeah, please.
Question regarding modified exhaust. It's
Okay.
something that we hear about in the neighborhood literally like
Sure.
all the time. And we've seen other jurisdictions take the bull by the horns, Collier County being one.
Sure.
I'm curious to hear from the officers in the field, like what directives are you getting from your superiors in terms of doing something about this, especially as it can interfere with the shot spotter technology that, you know, you're trying to leverage into the community. So
Sure.
obviously if you have this thing that sounds like a gunshot,
Sure.
it's not good for a shot spotter.
Agreed, great question. So, couple points. ShotSpotter implemented in 2019, I think. they have gotten much better about differentiating between gunshots and the backfire exhaust. We're big fans of that as well. The way that it works is, for those of you who don't know, there's acoustic sensors set up in different parts throughout the city, and they triangulate gunshots. So up to was 50 feet now, 80 feet. So it's actually really, really cool. I have an app I pull up on my phone, I show up on scene, and I went, oh, the gunshots happened here, and look, there's shell casings. And then we can work our way back from that. So it's a really good tool. The way that it happens is that acoustic sensor picks up whether it's a gunshot, whether it's a backfire or muffler, and then it gets sent straight to a human being tech, and that human being may say yes, no, gunfire, automatic gunfire, rifle, whatever it is they say. So there have been safeguards put in place for that, which helps us. We like that. In terms of the modified exhaust, no supervisor, I should say, worth their salt is going to tell an officer you have to write a ticket for X. Now, what we do focus on, particularly on the weekends, is a lot of the racers, because that's a problem. That's a big public safety issue for us, because they're not even coming from Tampa, they're coming from St. Pete, they're coming from Orlando, they're in the street, go takeovers and everything else. The modified exhaust tickets that I've seen have been primarily focused on that. If you feel that there's issues going on with that in a certain area, please let us know, because we can handle it, or I can forward it to our traffic unit and they can handle it. But it is a problem, because the people that come into our city en masse with modified exhaust and everything, all these other cars and everything else, they tend to want to do dangerous things. Block roads. We had one guy when I was on the street crimes unit a couple of years ago that was running around with a flamethrower, all kinds of nonsense. People bring guns, they bring dope. We want to prevent all of that, right? So these small quality of life violations are very important to us. So please, is there an area that you want to focus on with that?
Fifth Avenue.
Fifth Avenue,
Yeah.
okay. Fifth Avenue and,
Between 16th Street, which is Central Ybor parking garage, to 22nd.
Okay.
Anywhere along there.
any
Because
certain day, any certain time?
Friday, Saturday night, it's, so back to the quality of life issue, you know, if we're trying to sleep at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning and it sounds like a gunshot, I couldn't tell you the number of times that the neighborhood gets into a chatter about, like, did you hear gunshots last night? Did you hear you know, it's just like, most of the time, unfortunately, it's the modified exhaust, or I guess that's fortunately, it's the modified.
Sure, yeah.
But nonetheless, it is a quality of life issue. And I think it further kind of stereotypes living in Ybor City. You know, it's dangerous. You know, what did you think when you moved to Ybor City? And that's something that we've been combating for a decade now, so.
Okay, sure. So I'll forward that down to my guys. Also keep in mind that if at any point you ever hear what you think is a gunshot, call us. That's what we're here for. My guys are very excited about stopping violence in the community, particularly focused on guns and narcotics. So please call us. That's what we like to do. Okay, so does that answer your question?
Yes, it does.
Cool. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
Regarding your increase in traffic stops, do you have statistics of the outcomes of that? Have they resulted in, gun seizures or arrests or just simple ticketing or?
So I don't have those figures offhand. I can tell you that the reason that at least my squad stops cars is for those reasons. Again, we're not trying to inconvenience mom driving the kids to soccer practice. We're trying to inconvenience the bad guy. So I wouldn't be surprised if they were on the rise. That's kind of the whole point of us doing it, but I don't have those exact statistics in front of me. I can find them for you.
Would be great.
Yeah, can you write down your email address or do you have a card? Please. Anybody else? Okay.
I just want to add, I saw today that they were putting a license plate reader on 7th Avenue, so that just gives us more access to every single car that drives down 7th will have their license plate, we'll have a picture of them, we'll have a video of them. So it's just another tool that we'll have and we'll be using out there.
Cool.
But also want to know, there's a file with vendors and stuff that, so we should have the warrant, whatever, just so you know for it.
We get an alert right away on the vehicle if it's stolen, if they have a warrant, et cetera.
Keep all of that active.
You cool?
Yeah.
All right, anything else? All right, we appreciate your time, folks. Thank you very much. Yeah.
You're gonna have a homeless league update tonight?
I'll say again.
Not here. Okay, we'll move into code enforcement, Mr. Lopez.
I'll see you later.
Thank you.
Renee? They could go to third.
Yeah, this is the ninth time we need to know, Mr. Bailey's been talking about A-frame signs. And we spoke on the phone about possibly doing like an advisory notice. We're not gonna put out something, because of the inherent nature of the A-frame signs not being allowed citywide. You don't wanna create precedent, create a code that's outside of the city code. So we are gonna have the discussions, and we've started these discussions with the businesses to keep their signs out of the right of way. We have 2 weeks of our nighttime duties documenting that. And from here on out, we've already started confiscating some signs, and more will be confiscated. Kind of how we're going about it is, if you have the room on your property to put your A-frame sign, then it has to be there. Anything, zero lot line buildings, it has to be up against the building. But for the parking lots, some of the other businesses that have some, open space within their boundary, those signs do have to be back on their property. So that's what we're doing. Like I said, we've confiscated one, and then also with the parking lots, 2 weeks ago, I was doing the parking lots, so we did a full review of everything that still remains. We have had quite a bit of parking lots closed, and then, we updated our list, and 3 more were removed from that list. And we haven't had really any issues with the parking lots. They've been staying together with the new 2778 units. I believe there's only 2 lots out of the batch that were brought to the hearings. 26 initial lots that were cited. There's 2 parking lots that have yet to meet the DOC approval. One is the triangular lot behind Southern Nights, and they're undergoing a process right now to vest that lot, a non-conforming lot, and then also the other lot is the one over here behind Saddlebags, which is, they're going through a variance right now to get that one approved as well.
I'm not giving a big listing of all the interactions I've had in the city, and within the district. Also, if there are any properties of concern, because I know I could put that now, if you know, if there are cases, anything pending, any property that there's anything, somebody did it now.
You have one follow-up question that I spoke to Mike Peterson about, and it was, I guess, the gap in between Tampa Connect and the complaints getting to you guys. Has that gap been fixed, or?
Yeah, so, I wish I could remember the exact, what exactly that was, but when they did the further look into what was happening there, those responses were getting filtered towards us. With that case, I can't remember what the conclusion on that one specifically was. But they are getting to us, and like I told you on the phone, sometimes, one of the weird things is sometimes with like vehicles, abandoned vehicles, things like that, I'll get the notification straight to my email. But a lot of them that are coming through Tampa Connect are getting generated as it gets filtered through our office, and they create a CMP case for it.
So just for the illumination of the board, the challenge that neighbors are having is that they'll use Tampa Connect like they're directed to do, but there's no way for them to really track where it goes from there. And the one thing they do get in response is that it's been closed. It just doesn't say anything, which I understand your explanation. It's been closed and routed to a CMP case, but they don't have that CMP number, and they have no idea what's happened to it.
So when you, and part of the other issue too is sometimes, especially down here in Ybor, if you complain about a property and, you use the address that they have displayed, that's not the actual property address, and everything we do is tied to the real property per the property break. So if you send in for 3410, but the address is actually 3406, then that's where, you might lose something. But if you do, if you have the right property on the property appraiser, that address, you do look it up in our Acela by that address, you will see our Acela too, it's been updated. You guys have a lot more access to, the exact violations, the notes, everything that pertains to that case. So you can find all that information on our Acela app, or Acela software. So if you make a complaint about a case and then a week later, that tracking number, as we discussed, is no good, because that tracking number just goes to that little program. But then if you were to follow up in that, in Acela with that address, you will see where that case is at, what's happened.
So you bring up a great point, and it's the reason why the code is structured so that the parking lots are required to have their physical address on the sign so that citizens know exactly what property they're dealing with. And so I haven't seen that be very much enforced, but obviously we're not going to solve that here today, but that's the reason why the code's written that way. So the clarity of having that's the property, this is the address.
Exactly. There is, when it comes to the developing of some of these properties, there can be some cases where the address that we use within our GIS and the actual property appraiser address is different. So sometimes there is an addressing issue with that. But as to them being displayed and things of that nature, this is historic preservation. We've been the enforcement arm for historic preservation. However, they've called us in and we've done it for them. When they approve lots, we have to take their word for it. They're the experts on that. Their people are the ones that do the inspections of them meeting that compliance. So, if they're not meeting that compliance, that's not meaning Renee, that's complying those cases, that's us complying per their inspection, their word of, we passed this as, they got BLC approval and met the requirements.
Got it.
Any other questions for code enforcement? And that non-conforming lot that you talked about is on the Barrio's agenda for next month. Behind Southern Nights.
Yeah, they are. So they contested our non-conformance report, non-compliance report. And they did lose that last month at the hearing. So, they are still under, they are still accruing fines. They're still under violation. They just have to get that vesting or whatever to bring it back.
Just a clarification, you were mentioning a lot behind Saddlebags. Do you mean the one that is to their west, or do you mean the one that's to the north?
Not the 2208, East 8th. I think that's the one you're thinking of, the grass lot.
Yes.
It's the one that's tied in 2234 East.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you for your report. We appreciate the information. Mr. Bernini.
Hello, everybody. So this month was a very busy month for us. Infrastructure cleans were up about 45%, and that's not only for the clean team, that's also our safety team as well, helping to keep people a little bit cleaner, especially on 7th Avenue. Trash bag collection was also up 43%. And for our safety team specifically, our homeless count, well, let me start with our hospitality assist. Actually, we had a decrease in about 19%. That could also be because on the days that it's very hot, it's very hot. And on the days that it's raining, it's very rainy. So we're seeing kind of an influx of the amount of people that are coming out on the streets. And then our homeless counts, we had an increase of 20%. So right now we're seeing the most visible of our most chronic homeless individuals. Some of them left, some of them are now back. And we are in contact with them on a regular basis, trying to get a status update, see what we can do for them. And it just kind of is what it is currently. And right now we're just landscaping. That's huge for us. As much as we can cut, it's growing just as quick because of the rain. So it's a battle. We're dealing with it every day. But we're a little bit ahead of the curve right now. So far everything's good on our end. That's it.
Any questions? Thank you much. We appreciate it. Okay, we'll move to presentations by Beth. on the hardware job. Keep it.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'll come this way so you guys can see the screen. As far as the motion that was made, or we can talk about this after.
Okay.
Because I was not part of that.
Yeah.
Really, this was just quick one pager to go over. Oh, no, you good.
Sure.
Yeah, it's only like three pages. Just kind of go over highlighting some of the improvements we've been making over at both Central Ybor and the Palm Garage. From the security perspective, so Jason back there is actually overseeing both security and maintenance for us. So up to date so far, we have spent over 400,000 in security coverage. So what we've done is have more of a team that's really focused on Ybor. Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights specifically, we'll have each location that's open have their own dedicated guard that's required. The Central Ybor Garage, we actually have 3 officers there just because of how big it is. And then we'll also have a mobile officer that kind of patrol and go to the different location, make sure everybody's there doing what they're supposed to be doing. So to date, we've spent over 400,000 so far. As far as the maintenance, we already spent 1.5 million. And if you've been to Central Ybor, you've probably seen it already. We ripped out all the booths, painting everything, put some flowers, just kind of make it more welcoming for visitors. So for Central Ybor, we pressure washed the exterior and the interior of the garage. For Palm, we did the interior. We haven't done the exterior yet. Right now, the painting crew is actually painting from 3 to 4. Then after that, to go 4 to 5, and then the rooftop. So all the ceilings, all the walls, everything have been like either have been painted or will be painted. I have a couple before and after pictures to go over for you guys. As far as signage, we upgrade signage, both garages and the surface lots to be in compliance with the new code. And the big really ticket item will be Central Ybor, the garage elevators and the fire alarm system. We'll be upgrading that over the next 2 years. So that's going to be anywhere from 6 to maybe 8 million by the time we get there. But right now, I have 6 million budgeted for the project there. From a technology upgrade, we basically go away from the tickets and everybody having to stop, pull a ticket, and then be on the way out. So we went to frictionless. And what that means is the garages is almost like the surface lot where you park first and then you pay either at a pay station or mobile app. So what that does during big events, we don't have the backup that's causing traffic congestions. And then on the way out, we don't have a long wait for people to exit the garage because they already paid before they go to the event. So that's been very, very successful. We implemented that back in 2023 and some of the locations downtown worked well. So we basically did the same thing for Ybor and Palm Garage. The next 2 slides just kind of give you a couple some before and after pictures. These are some before pictures. This is elevator landing by Central. We have the ramp of one of the, I think that's like 2 going to 3 or 1 going to 2. And then this is the first entrance area, and then this is the elevator lobby. If you go to the next slide, it kind of just shows some of the improvement that we've been making. The next step will be to restripe the interior of the garage for Central and Palm. So pretty much what you see here, we want the floor to look just like this one here. So we did that on at the entrance just to kind of again have that welcome feel to it. Same thing with the elevator areas and then the elevator landing and stuff like that. Pretty much it. I'm here really to more answer any questions that you guys have. I know there was a motion about the is it the
It's the garage window spaces.
yeah.
And
So
the expansion joints.
expansion joint, Jason is actually working on that. The glass spaces, that might have to be a different conversation because right now we don't have control of it. It's actually the CRA that have control of that. So I don't know if it's something where we want to change the use of the space, if we just want a different type of funding. I wasn't sure exactly what the motion was in regards to. I know we've taken over security costs for the bathrooms. I think we did some water and the water, the electricity, everything associated with the public bathroom. We've taken those costs over, but the window, I don't even have access to them, so I don't know how we want
Well,
that
yeah,
to go.
there's a set of keys and I think your team has one set now. So, the windows, well, that was a conversation because they want to do, we've used them for art. Well, we've actually used them for a couple of different reasons, but they're 20 years old. And knowing that the CRA is going away in 8 years, there's got to be a plan for the windows. And technically as a city building, it's a city facility. So, but there was a whole conversation, y'all can chime in, Dave, and
Yeah.
Martian mentioned it, and
So
Chris
I'll just-
about.
If I may, I'll just say like, yeah, it's cool that we have control of what goes in the window. The problem is the rain landing on top of the windows and seeping in to the boxes destroys anything that's in there. So that's not a problem we can solve.
Correct. So
We need your help with that. But also, I think there's discussion about like, how do we make these things sustainable going forward so that people walking by the garage don't see caved in ceilings and water damage, which is what they see today. So that's my thought.
yeah, if we're talking from the, so was the 90,000 the cost to fix
Yeah,
that, or
Corey
was
had-
that the inside?
Corey had presented a $90,000 cost estimate last meeting, I'm sorry. And that included upgrading all the windows. And I believe, but the waterproofing, I believe y'all are doing expansion joints.
We are, yeah, this is
So
actually
there's
working
a bigger
with us.
project
That's correct.
doing, controlling the leak.
Yeah, you can,
I'm sorry. Actually, I have a meeting this Thursday, regarding the expansion joints. So, we have $300,000 that we've committed to that. So it's now just kind of putting that into place as far as, lining up the contractor, having them go in and, fix them.
And y'all are funding that?
yes.
Yes, that's what I thought.
So that's what I was saying, like, if the 90,000 is to fix the windows or the inside of it, that's different. If we're talking expansion joints, the leaking, waterproofing, yeah, that's all on us, because that's more on the building itself. But from my understanding, the 90,000 was not for that. That was just for you guys to make it look however you want to make it look. And then we're working separately to fix all that, which Jason is.
Yeah.
So does that
We've
provide
done some
clarification?
minor work already, but not significant.
I think there's a disconnect though here. This is part of the building and it's been damaged due to the failure of those expansion joints. And what we're asking the city to do is to repair the building back to the state it was when it was built, so that we can then use those spaces for outreach. But the point is the fact it's part of the garage, it's part of the design, it's part of what was permitted, and it's been damaged due to failure of the infrastructure. So it needs to be repaired and fixed, and then we can use it for our outreach space.
Yeah, I'll probably have to follow back up on that, because from, like, as far as long-term, who's, in charge of it, what do we put there? Again, I don't even know what's allowed to go in there, because we've never actually had control over that.
Again, I don't think that's the issue, what goes in there or not. What
It
the
really
issue
is, though.
is the structure of the building and those spaces.
No, I know, but
Compromised.
my repair and then the type of repair that you might want to do could be different, right? So like if we just seal everything, that's a different repair than having other windows and different type of, whether it's lighting. Because for example, if it's just covered up, we don't need any more lighting in there, right? So it's different as far as what the space is being used for. Now, this is what we want it to be used for long term.
I think to echo Carolyn's point is that the city made a commitment to the historic neighborhood when they built this parking garage. And that commitment does not expire. And that was to activate the ground level area, which includes those windows. And I would argue that includes the parking offices, which are now vinyled off and I think being used for storage. That's not ground level activation in our historic district. So I'm not saying that we have a solution today, but I'm saying there was a commitment that was made so that the neighborhood would not protest that parking garage being built in the middle of the historic neighborhood.
Was that a COA commitment or?
No, it was,
Tampa.
no, it was a development
So City of
agreement.
Tampa.
Yeah.
It was City of Tampa, and actually it was a development agreement with Central Ybor, that development at the time. So,
But
they
that
are
was all
correct.
barrio approved.
It was, the barrio approved this sign actually, because the barrio was responding to the neighborhood, making sure there was a softer edge to it than just plopping a garage really in the historic neighborhood. But that was 1999, 2000 when it was built. Now we're 25 years later and here we are. But really the conversation is that we're going to expire in 8 years. So at the end of 8 years, it's a city parking garage. It'll continue to be a city
I
parking
think that's the
garage.
bottom line.
And so we need to find some way of beautifying those spaces, or at least respecting the design that was that was kind of imposed. We all inherited it, right? And you have YCDC, it wasn't even Ybor CRA, it was YCDC at the time, the separate non-for-profit that actually activated those spaces. And so the irony is the spaces are not climate controlled. They have a light, they have electrical, and there's no air conditioning. One of the design improvements was to make the spaces more suitable for art, meaning ventilated a little bit, because anything you put in there is gonna pretty much melt in 6 months. And if you're on the sunny side and you're red, you're definitely gonna turn pink really quick. So, it's kind of just making them more useful. So I think the estimate may be a little bit more than the basic of what would have been, which I would normally have done, but that's where we are today. And I know y'all had to waterproof the offices, didn't you? Because you had a water damage leak in those as well.
Yeah.
So you know what you're getting involved with. So anyway, that's where we're at. If you want me to go back and staff work with Fed and maybe come up with a better cost estimate, we can. But at this point in time, it's not funded on your end. And if we want to utilize it, then you're asking for us to kind of help fund it.
Yeah, and more so like
Project.
define exactly what we're trying to do with the space. So I know it's part of the parking structure, but again, since I've joined the city, again, never
know.
been in
You
there,
inherited
don't know
it.
what's going on. I don't know what, who decide what to put in there. Like, if we just want to make it beautiful, I'm all for that. But if we want we want it to be where it's a controlled environment that you can put, art in there where it doesn't go bad, that's a whole different conversation that I can just commit to, because I don't think it's a one-time expense. I think you have to continually, maintaining it. So I think it's a deeper conversation as far as when you do go away, as far as the CRA, what do we do with the space? Who's responsible? I think what David is saying is there's a commitment that the city made to keep it going, or something like to that nature. So I think we just need to find the right balance. But I'm not opposed
And there's
to.
probably about a difference between the basic repair, there's a basic repair, and then there's the upgraded repair,
Yeah,
right?
correct. It's like, are we doing upgraded repair, or we're
And
doing just
the
basic?
basic repair, would that be something the city could do?
Yeah.
The basic repair, which is good.
And
Replace the.
Exactly, put it back the way it was.
The original.
Was
Yes.
created, and then at that point in time, we have funding to be able to do something, makes that a useful creative space.
And again,
But impose upon the city to
Okay.
replace and repair the building the way it's supposed to be.
yeah, part of the joint ceiling repair and all that, that will include that area as well, because it's basically
Okay.
everything, within the structure itself. Repairing drywall, that can be done. It's more so, I don't know what it is you guys were looking to do long-term with the space. That's really where.
Well, I think long term, I think it needs to be upgraded and protected so that you don't run into this issue. I mean, it's a parking garage. It doesn't have a roof on it, so it's always gonna have water getting in there. So there's gotta be a way to get the water out and preserve that space so that it can be used for, how the city promises to the community as a whole.
I'm not opposed to that at all.
So I think there's a couple different levels there that,
Sounds
Is
good.
there a way to waterproof it?
I'll have to get some engineering in there, because when we're talking about the ceiling itself, that's one thing, but we're talking side, water coming in, that's a whole different conversation that we haven't looked into. Sure.
Okay.
Any other questions? Yes.
Quick and easy question. We have a lot of people parking over in the central parking garage, but we cannot find rates listed online anywhere. And I know that for the weekend, it moves from like a per hour rate to a flat rate.
Yes.
I don't know when that happens. That's not really posted. Like, is that Friday at 5? Is that Friday all day?
Thursday, Friday, Saturday. It's on our webpage under rates. You don't see it?
I can't find it.
I'll share
And then
that.
for special events, does that change?
Yes.
That is what I really need. So of course we could find the daily rates, but then we don't know when, like, for Pride comes down the street, does it change? And where is that posted? And when can we find out so that we can tell our guests?
So I'll see if I can get a list of events, because not every event we charge a separate. So that's why we have a gap online. So there's some events where we charge the 10, some we charge the 20. But I can get you a list of the events and the time frame that we switch over to an event rate. Because again, same thing with, if it's a daytime, all day event, obviously we change the rate earlier, but if it's a night event, it's at 6 p.m. is when we change the rate.
Super helpful, because telling our employees, hey, this is gonna be $15 instead of $5 today.
I'll share a spreadsheet with Brenda and she can share with me.
Yeah,
I'll forward it to you all. No problem, thank you.
Any other questions? David is happy, I'm good.
I think I'm happy, but.
Close.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thanks.
Yeah, we have some, CRA grants.
Yeah, there's a presentation, just a moment.
Already loaded it.
Oh, good, okay. Is there a clicker?
Hmm?
Is there a clicker for that? Who wants the?
Let me go ahead and put it on the
All
broadcast.
right.
Ready to go.
Good evening, everyone. We are your Commercial Grants Division. I'm Dee Reed, Economic Development Coordinator. And these lovely ladies with me, we have Celeste, Andrea, Tiffany, and Katrina. They are your Economic Development Specialists. We appreciate you allowing us to present to you this evening. We have allotted 20 minutes at the end of the presentation to answer your questions. So we do ask if you can just hold any questions you have to the end of the presentation. Feel free to jot them down as you think of them so that you don't forget them. And if you think you may want us to go back to a slide, I recommend just jotting down that slide title, and then we can go back to that slide if you need us to as well. All right, so we will jump right in. So since the approval of the current policy, this team alone has conducted over 75 pre-application meetings. That doesn't even represent half of the inquiries that we've responded to. And as we've conducted those various discussions, we've identified several areas of improvement. Some of those areas include elements that may not have been outlined clearly, guidelines not quite accomplishing the board's intent. Is that safe? Terminology, not specifying how it will be applied throughout the policy. Initiatives not having as great an impact as expected. So we've gone back and we've proposed some revisions to address these deficiencies. And I'm going to turn it over to Katrina to introduce some of those proposed revisions.
Good afternoon, everyone. How are y'all doing? Good. Awesome. First, I want to tell you, thank you so very much for being a valued CAC member. We really appreciate you guys taking out your time and for all you do for the community. So sometimes you don't get a thanks, so you want anything. With that being said, I have some exciting proposed updates that we would like to present to you tonight. So let's get started. Our special projects and non-funding requests will now be limited to 1 million and city-funded requests to 5 million. Guidelines and limits are also proposed for city funding requests. Any expenditure over 1 million will be reserved for CRA-initiated projects and must follow the city's procurement processes. We're also setting rules to allow part of our special projects grants to cover soft costs like architectural, design fees, and as reimbursements only. Also, we are now offering tax-exempt properties access to exterior grant reimbursement opportunities. Now, I gave you guys, a little format of some exciting things that we're expecting, but I have to break some news to you. Unfortunately, due to the city's ethics policy, CAC members are not eligible for special grant funding. However, you may still apply for our standard grants. Now back to some good news. We have removed the limit on our legacy credit, which is based on the owner's TIF contributions per property and define how often the property can receive legacy credit. Next slide, please. We are also proposing special funding request applicants to apply for permits after their required pre-application meeting, but before receiving an award letter or signing their grant agreement. We're also revising our tiered funding by merging levels 1 and 2 into our new level 1. The renaming of our top tier will now be level 3. And we're also updating the processes for CRA initiated projects. And finally, we're requiring agreements and restrictive covenants for all of our grants. We're also proposing policy updates to outline the appeals process for staff award decisions and define valid reasons for those appeals. And then finally, we are updating our grant policy to include new residential grant processes, to include processes like their AMI limits, the application steps, and much more. And unfortunately, if you would like additional information regarding our residential grant policy, you will need to follow up with one of our housing team members.
Next slide.
Oh, yeah, that's me.
Okay, some of the proposed changes are clarifications of existing internal policies that appear to have been potential confusion points for some applicants. And those include defining our intended meaning for commercial use and mixed use, consistent with definitions already established in the city's zoning code. Universally applying the prohibition to reimburse for sweat equity or to contractors with a familial or financial relationship to the owner or applicant, and specifying that property owner's attendance is required at all pre-application meetings. We've also added more specific language to allow monthly progress payments and define initial deposit amounts for those applicants using the direct contractor payment process. Next slide. Next slide.
We need the next slide.
Good one. Sorry, call at the same time. Next slide. Okay. Does your clicker work? Can you do one test? Okay, there we go.
Okay, some of the recommended changes only apply to specific grants, such as for the pre-development grant. We're proposing changing the structure to a consolidated scope of service, establishing a timeline to start construction of a designed project, requiring repayment for designs that are ultimately never constructed, updating the professional services contracting structure, and providing additional scoring opportunities to qualify for the grant. For the exterior grant, amendments are being added that include art installations, such as murals, to be eligible improvements, and updating the scoring matrix with additional bonus point opportunities. Okay. There were 5 items related to the existing requirements in the policy where we asked the CRA board in June at their June meeting to clarify their intent to make sure that we're applying the policy in the spirit they intend. So the direction provided by the board, which will be incorporated into the proposed changes, was to limit the architectural and historic preservation staff feedback for buildings 50 years and older that are not already subject to historic review under the city code to only a recommendation for either restoration or reconstruction. We're revising the interior grant to limit eligible improvements to those required to bring the structure into building code compliance, such as upgrading fire, electrical, plumbing, structural stabilization, and ADA accessibility. Removing the eligibility restriction on restaurants based on their allowed revenue for alcohol sales. Not to expand the list of ineligible alcohol-focused establishments, leaving the restriction in place for just bars, lounges, and nightclubs, and requiring full repayment of the grant amount for projects that transfer ownership to a tax-exempt entity or go into default during the first 5 years of the restrictive covenants.
This is a recap of the changes and how they impact specific grants. Revising reimbursable improvement. Art is added as a reimbursable to the exterior grant. And there are proposed changes to what will be reimbursable for the interior grants. Adding language referring to the definition of commercial and mixed use in the policy. The definitions are added to the interior and exterior grant to specify the meaning for each word. Adding additional point opportunities to the application scoring criteria. Additional scoring points have been added to the scorecard for the exterior, interior, and pre-development grants. Restructured grant added construction timeline and incorporated payment terms. It's proposed that the pre-development levels 1 and level 2 be consolidated as one, and that the timeline and payment terms be incorporated.
So this table details the proposed revisions for special projects and funding requests. For requests less than $500,000, they will fall into the special projects category. For requests over $500,000 and all city requests will be funding requests. We're proposing to establish a maximum award percentage to contribute towards overall project costs. For the fourth revision, we're proposing to establish parameters for allocating a portion of the award for soft costs and specifying them as reimbursement only. These costs may include architectural design and engineering fees, permit fees, and site remediation and stabilization. We are proposing to revise the required waiting period to apply for another grant for special projects. And lastly, we're proposing revisions that would allow for special project and funding request applicants to apply for permits after the successful completion of pre-application meetings to obtain application required estimates for the proposed improvements. However, work will still not be commenced prior to receiving an award letter or executed grant funding agreement. This proposed revision will be for both special projects and funding requests. Okay, that concludes the proposed update portion of our presentation. We want to remind you that if you have any questions on the grants or would like to initiate the application process or just want more information in general, please visit the link that you see here on this slide. The request for a consultation button you see here is where you would click to submit an inquiry, and one of us staff members will get in touch with you.
All right, so Celeste is gonna put up 20 minutes on the screen, and we are here to answer any questions you have. We do ask if you can keep the questions to the topic for today, which is the policy update. If you do have any project-specific questions, feel free to utilize that form and submit an inquiry or call the office, and we can talk specific projects with you. Or we can answer any of your questions regarding the policy.
You referred to about 75 pre-project meetings. How many of those are Ybor CRA 1 and 2?
Oh, wow. I don't have that number with me today. We did not break those down by district, but if you want to know that number, I can go back and look and try.
I think the board would be interested in probably that number and how many grants have been successfully completed or gone through the process for Ybor CRA 1 and 2.
Okay.
We'd be interested in those statistics.
Okay. I believe you get a.
You get a report in here.
Oh, do we?
Yes.
Oh,
It's a little small.
See,
Yeah,
there
this
it
one's
is.
a little small, but it's
That's
broken
the-
down Ybor 1 and 2. And
Thank you.
forever.
That's the trick, is actually going through, the whole process.
Well, from reading this, it looks like there's 2 grant awards for CRA 1, well, halfway down, and 2 in CRA 2, Ybor 2.
Yeah.
Read that at all. I send it to y'all electronically, but usually I blow it up. I apologize. Blow it up this time, but it's about half, 14 in Ybor 1, Ybor 2, 7. There could be more. I wish there were more. But I will tell y'all that there was, did y'all mention about the alcohol?
Yeah, that's one of the
Okay.
changes.
So a good example, which came up at CRA board, is Carmine's went to apply for a standard grant and he was denied. And he was denied because he sold more than 51% alcohol. But he's a restaurant, right? So they fixed it. This policy will actually help an applicant like Carmine's, because in Ybor City, we have many businesses that are 4 COPs. They're under old rules, let's just say. I think even the Columbia has 4 COPs. So if they came in under the existing rules, they couldn't get a grant. Even though they look like a restaurant, they act like a restaurant, but because of the way they're designated, is that correct, Andrea? As land development, they're not considered.
Yeah.
So
They're alcohol beverage company.
this is helping Ybor, this policy update, at least for those types of businesses.
So a hypothetical related to what you just said. So Carmine, if with this new policy that CAC members cannot be a part of the special grant. So if he's a CAC member within Ybor, then he could not apply for a special grant.
He could not apply for the special projects grant, but he could apply for a standard grant.
Okay.
And the reason that the CAC members cannot apply for the special projects grants are because those grants come to the CAC for recommendation. So it just kind of presents a conflict of interest.
But the standard grants don't, so he can't apply for those.
Absolutely. Any of these,
Those are
yeah,
approved administrative.
because they never come back to you.
Right. Second hypothetical. Me, serving on this CAC board specifically for Ybor, can I apply for a grant for downtown CRA outside of the CAC board that I sit on? I have no control over downtown.
So I saw that question came up, last week on one of the with one of the other CACs. I would want to confer with the attorney, to get an answer for that, because I could see where, based on some of the conversation, there's the fact that there's a CAC member that may have some weight, and it may just the fact that you're a CAC member could put forth some level of influence.
I only asked the question because I think it's a real scenario.
It is, absolutely.
It'd be good to have that clarification, especially if you're doing all these updates to make things better.
Absolutely, and I think I'll definitely, I'm back in the office today, and I was reading through, so I haven't had a chance to get with the attorney, but I will try to get an answer to that before we present to the board, in July. So when we go through and do those briefings, I will present, so let me pause. We have been doing briefings with the boards, and so we are informing them on the feedback that we're receiving from the CAC members. And so I will let them know that this question did come up, and I want to be able to give them an answer to that question as well. And we'll make sure that you all get an answer to that.
Thank you.
So, are city of Tampa employees eligible for any of these grants?
I do not believe so.
Why not? Why not?
But I will ask that question as well.
Yeah.
But I would think the same concept would
That
apply.
they're eligible for housing.
City versus CRA employees.
Oh, you're saying
Like city
city,
Tampa.
but
City
not
employees.
CRA employees.
Yeah, city.
Okay. I will ask.
Yeah, do find out.
Yes.
Got a project ready to go. I work at CMON. No money for you, Michael. Damn it.
And you're asking related to special projects, right? Or are you asking related to a standard grant?
What's the difference?
Standard grants are interior, exterior, and pre-development grants. Those are administratively approved.
That would be standard. That's
And
what I
then-
got. I've got a shell of the building, just need to do it with that.
Just want to clarify that. 'Cause
Yes.
the answer
And I do have
is
some.
potentially different based on
Okay, well,
the ethics policy for the city.
Special projects is?
Yeah.
So if the project does not qualify for a standard grant, then they would have to apply for special. If it's a nonprofit, if it is a non-tax paying owner, then they would have to apply for either an exterior grant or special projects.
I'm wondering if you could go ahead and give the definition of the special projects that we
Standard, you're saying,
the standard.
standard was exterior, interior, and
Pre-development.
pre-development, and the special projects was.
It's basically, if you're, say, for example, you're looking for, I'll give an example, it's the exterior grant, right? It reimburses for minor roof repairs. It does not reimburse, it's not eligible for a roof replacement. So say you were replacing the roof and you wanted to have the CRA contribute, well, it's not eligible for the exterior grant. you could apply for a special projects grant in which you would go to the board and request for that, funding. So anything that does not fit within the standard grant as it is written, you could apply for special projects grant.
As long as it is something we can fund under the statute.
Correct.
It supports the CRP for the area that it's in, and it supports the goals of, the goals of the strategic plan of the board.
And as long as you are not a CAC member.
I can resign.
And there's also-
But I don't want to quit the city.
And there's also a dollar value attached to that too, right? Does the dollar value come in the differentiate?
Up to, no, you cannot submit a request for over $1 million.
Right.
Yes.
So a good example is the social clubs. In the old program, social clubs could go through the SOD grant. This time, they can only go through special projects grant.
Because.
Yes, why?
tax
They're
exempt.
nonprofit, tax exempt, whatever.
So they're not contributing tip dollars or something.
But they're identified as a, in the CRP, right? I
Yep.
mean,
They're
everything's about
part of the
history
CRP.
or
Yep.
historic buildings, so, yeah, it's a good point.
Exactly. Right, although
They're
they bring a lot of
nonprofit.
people to the district.
That's the way it's done.
Tax exempt.
And I think what we're trying
Taxes on
to
the
shift
property.
away from is the reference to it being a nonprofit as opposed to the reference to it not paying, to the property not generating taxes. Because there are situations in which I could be a nonprofit, I own a property, but say I lease it to a for-profit business.
That is the tip.
My property would still be eligible because if I'm paying taxes on the property and passing those taxes through to the tenant, then I'm a nonprofit, but I'm still eligible for a standard grant. So we're trying to get away from saying nonprofit and we're trying to say non-tax generated profits.
No, that makes sense, actually. Makes a lot more sense.
And that just kind of goes in line with the purpose of the CRA. Our goal is to increase the tax base and invest it back into the district.
There was a little discussion about social clubs. They're considered a nonprofit, but is it because, is it a land development classification?
No, it's a tax exemption classification. If if they don't pay property taxes on that property, then they're tax exempt. That's when they don't
Why
qualify.
would a
for standard grant.
nonprofit corporation not pay taxes on property they own?
And that goes back to why we're trying to get away.
Why
from
would they
the
not?
Yeah.
The
Because
chamber is a nonprofit, we don't, but we pay tax.
Right, there are nonprofits,
Property, we would-
there are nonprofits that pay taxes and there are nonprofits that don't pay taxes. And the reason they do that is all with the property appraiser's office. So, but if they're not generating tax revenue for the district, then
Yeah, and
that's.
I heard you guys define it not as nonprofit, as tax exempt.
Yes.
If they're property tax exempt,
Correct.
then they have to, that's the definition, not if they're not.
And it's gonna take time for us to get used to it. I think we've gotten so much in the habit of saying nonprofit. We've gotta get used to just saying the non-tax generating property.
Yeah, so, okay.
Clarify that it's ad valorem taxes, because there are non-ad valorem taxes. that-
Yes.
Okay, so it's for properties, properties who would not be eligible for the standard grants are properties that don't pay ad valorem taxes. They can still pay non-ad valorem taxes, but if they don't pay ad valorem taxes, then they would not be eligible for the standard grants. Because the ad valorem contains the property tax.
Yes.
Any other questions?
Those are good stuff.
Yeah. Anyone else? Look at the time is fair. Appreciate it. Thank you so much for the information. That was
Oh,
great.
and just so you know that the proposed improvements or revisions, will be presented to the board at the June, meeting.
July.
July
24.
meeting. And we have promised to give a 60-day notice. So if, providing they approve, these changes will not be effective until October. Okay?
Good. When that language hits on the agenda, could you distribute that to the CIC?
They want when
Final
what's
version.
presented to
Right.
the CRA board.
No, if it's approved, I think.
Once approved, they want a copy of it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Once
Thank you.
it's approved, we'll get it up on the website and, we can get.
And you'll update the flyers. We
Yeah,
have actually.
everything will be updated.
There won't be any supporting information until the agenda. So it's
Once we upload everything in the OnBase for the
Yeah,
July meeting,
okay.
everybody will have access.
I'll send y'all the
So we
July
can preview it.
24
Yes.
on base
Absolutely.
and upload.
Yeah.
You'll see what CRA board's looking at. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. And if you think of any additional questions, do not hesitate, reach out to us.
Appreciate it. All right. Robert Allen.
Here?
Hi, guys. Doing great.
There he is.
Stay with me.
All right, we're doing good.
Just a little work.
Want this work button? Yeah, give me 1 second to start the.
Trying.
All right, everybody. My name is Robert Allen. I'm the Vice President at HCP Associates. I know we're still working through some technical points here. I'm very pleased to be presenting this to you guys, although I think of all of these different CACs, where to we are presenting this, you guys are probably the most familiar with this, given that really you guys are the model for the other CACs in this type of communications support role. So again, I'm Robert Allen. We're with HCP Associates. Let's see if I can get this to go.
There we go.
Here, I know how to press the arrow.
Feel the clicker floating around.
I'm dangerous with the IT stuff. Okay,
Give me the
let's see.
push.
There we go.
All right.
Okay, so we are a consulting firm located in the Channel District CRA. We're right down the road. We've been in the Tampa Bay market since 1986. We are very pleased to be working with a variety of different government sector partners. Most recently, City of Tampa, Hillsborough County, the Budget CRA, West Shore Alliance, the Tampa Downtown Partnership, and of course, the Tampa CRA. So what really I think is a great thing to be here with is we've been working with the Ybor CRA since 2016 from a variety of different activities, especially back before some of the legislative changes and clarifications were made. PR comms, social media management, crisis communications, research. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a second. Videos, short form videos, district campaigns, and a couple other things that now we have shifted away from given changes in regulatory structure. We are doing these presentations to all of the CACs to remind you guys that we are here as a resource. If you have information that you want us to disseminate, that is the legal term that we're using. So we are here today in our capacity working for the Tampa CRA. So far, we have undertook a social media migration project. We've been doing some ongoing social media for all of the different CRAs. We've been working closely with Brenda and the other CRA managers to do that, and it's been a very fun challenge. The 2024 annual report is another thing that if you guys have seen it, I hope you have, that we helped put together. And right now, and through the rest of this year, we are contracted to support you guys in social media management, producing quarterly CRA newsletters, that research that I mentioned here, some additional short form content, video especially, and some additional things like flash emails and the like. So how can we help you guys directly? If you guys have a meeting reminder, things that you need to find out about, if you want us to share something, I'll get to the kind of the process maybe on the next slide, but things like ribbon cuttings, events, closures, anything that you think is information worthy of being disseminated that is not just like an advertisement for your business or for your brand, but it could be community events and other type of key points that drive the development and the economic development of the Ybor City CRA. We are happy to share those things. We would love to hear more from you. On that point, if you want us to share that, you have to go through her right here. It's all her job. Now we're happy to gussy it up. We're happy to jump on a meeting with you guys once you get a hold of Brenda. But if you have information you'd like us to share, please just reach out to Brenda. She'll get in contact with us, and we can help you even to come up with maybe the best way of phrasing it or stating it or making sure that whatever you want to share is in compliance with the CRA guidelines. So maybe you have an event and you really want to boost something about it that maybe we want to shift to just a little bit more way to how it's beneficial to the businesses in the district, then that's something that we can help you do. If you do that, please send the name of the event or the function or the meeting, the date and time, some type of collateral image or poster that you guys have put together, any other key information you want us to share. Again, please route these requests through your CRA manager. She will be happy to send them over to us. And we'd love to be disseminating this information on behalf of you guys. I don't think I have terribly much more left. I just have one more thing to mention on the research. You can follow us on these channels. I hope you guys already do. And if you want to sign up for CRA news releases, please scan this QR code. I do have one last point once I get to the end of the presentation. So I mentioned research. I beg you, I beseech you, I exhort you, please, 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 if you haven't already, take some of these cards and share them with your peers in your, whether you work in Ybor City or whether you live in Ybor City or both. We are doing a district-wide study. The study is about a wide variety of quality of life topics. Have this fat stack, I think they call this, of cards. If you'd like to take several of them, please do. Again, tourists are not eligible to take the survey. Visitors, tourists of all kinds. This is people who live or work in this district, Ybor CRA 1 and 2. Any participation that you guys can help us out with will go a long way to broadening our reach and making our sample more representative. That's what we're really trying to do here. Get as much feedback as possible. It takes about 10, maybe 15 minutes, depending on how much feedback you want to give and how much opinion you have to take the survey, but it really covers everything from parking to transportation to quality of life to safety, you name it. So if you have anything you want to share, I work on this project. We will make sure that the CRA hears from it. So any questions? I know I went kind of fast.
I think multiple times this board has talked about having the survey open to visitors and people that come into the district. That didn't seem to happen this time. What happened there? How come we got kind of derailed? That was something that was important to the CAC.
That's a good question. There's a couple challenges with that. One is the model of this. You would have to basically make an entirely new survey. So this would be a brand new survey that has to be administered. And because we are now under the Tampa CRA contract, we're not really supposed to do things supra and above for one district rather than another, unless we had some other type of separate or supplemental scope to do that for. So it's kind of a two-pronged problem. So if it was possible, even from a legal or scope perspective, I probably still would have argued a little bit myself as the survey designer against it, because we have all this legacy data from maintaining it as a resident and worker for the people who use the district every day type of survey. It's not to say that I don't think that's valuable information. I would love to do that. But now that we are under the Tampa CRA, actually our scope, or really our dream, is to expand this out to all of the different CRAs in years moving forward, should we be so lucky to continue to work with you guys. I do think that that's a valuable type of survey to gather information for, but to add those type of questions to this survey would make that survey very long. To change our scope would also maybe get us in some trouble with the fact that we now serve all of the CRAs.
That would be separate. We still need to have legal weigh in on it. This particular survey, is this our fourth or fifth?
I think it's the fourth.
So it's
the fifth.
It's a fifth iteration. Y'all are familiar with it because we take it every 2 years. We even did it during COVID. We were a year and a half after that. But so this is trend data. And so what we have, it's very targeted to resident workers. This is the last one they're doing for us. Their contract actually expires in December. We're piggybacking on that contract to have a Tampa CRA scope, and in our scope of service right now, so that we can get things out like this newsletter and the annual report and start really promoting Tampa CRA, but also Ybor's separate contract. We're still finishing up that. As part of that contract, that scope was this resident worker survey. So this is one of their last big projects they're doing for us. We're doing it this summer. And this is an important survey because this is what dictates projects, priorities, things that when we get the results from this, and if everyone says, hey, we need to have this, and this is a real big need in the district, then y'all can consider it in the budget and how we fund it. So that's how we got the archway lights. That's how we got the bricking of 7th Avenue, the signage. I mean, things like this came out of it, as well as the regulatory stuff with parking lots and some of the other.
The YES team had a lot of
the YES team was, very great. So anyway, that's where this is right now. We will look at doing this for the other districts as well. I'm not saying it'll totally go away, but we're going to enter into a whole new contract because this is up for 5 years. We have to go for full RFP on it. So we don't know what firm we're going to get, but this is what so we haven't forgotten about that. But again, everything we do has got to be legally correct. We just went through a whole legislative session, dodging a bullet. I don't know if we can do a visitor-only survey. Is that?
Well, I don't think it's limited to just this
We have to look at
district
that.
either. So, I mean, there's visitors to all the
That's right.
CRAs. So it's not like we're asking for special treatment. I just think, you know, the feedback
Yeah.
that we've talked about for years here is to get that kind of feedback for, you know, our constituency here.
Constituencies, yeah.
I would love to work on that, such a project, if the opportunity were to arise. And if there's something that Mr. Bell could maybe help us out with too, the same type of thing. So, I mean, we very much we see the value in that type of work.
And I understand that you guys are at the tail end of your contract and you're kind of, you know, from Ybor focused to CRA with the city of Tampa. So I know there's scope limitations there. It's just kind of.
It's been a very interesting evolution over the last 3 years. I'll say that much.
Oh, yeah.
Brenda, if you want, if we can get about 100 of those, we can go door to door to all the businesses and make sure that they.
Give it to them.
You have a grand winner.
And you're all, you know, we have 10 exhibition seats that sit as part of our CAC. We have it electronically. I can get it out to y'all to get to the neighborhoods and to the residents. Anyone that lives and works within CRA 1 or 2, like to get a really good, strong.
It goes out on the Chamber of Commerce.
And
blast
thank you,
as well.
Lee.
Yes,
Yeah, Lee
yes.
put it out there as well. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, you know, it's sharing it with workers, or if you live in an apartment complex, getting it in those community newsletters. That's always our two biggest challenges. You know, we usually do a pretty good job getting what I call like the white collar workers, you know, some of the law offices and the like trying to get some of the people working in the restaurants, some of the people working back of the house type of work. You know, we want to get a little bit more representativeness in our survey. We've always done pretty good, but by the fact that, you know, it's not a census, we don't get to knock on people's doors. It's always a challenge to try to make sure that we get a perfectly representative sample. So anything you guys can do with distribution, we would deeply appreciate it. If there's anything else I can do, or if I need to give you guys some more cards, again, please don't hesitate to reach us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so very much.
Where did the cards go? Are they
Here.
back?
Here, we can hand a few out.
Let's put a few here. We'll get more on this. It's also in the back.
Yes, you are first.
There's a QR code also in the presentation.
Set up via email.
You guys.
Actually, no, let me finish this up here.
If you need more, you can just let me know.
No, you did. You said she was already. And it's on the website.
Before you went on vacation, then.
I already took it.
I know. Good. Send it out to all my.
Y'all are great. We're the only series that does surveys, so.
Any other questions, you guys?
No, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you guys so much.
Take care.
All right, we're gonna jump into reports and then we'll run just small brief. You had a great session for the YCDC.
Half an hour.
Oh, we won't get kicked out.
Yes.
We have another meeting after this.
Oh, well.
We're not gonna get kicked
I'm
out.
gonna put a timer. So we had a YCDC session back on May 27th. I thought the session went really well. Lots of great ideas. We had not only YCDC board members, but people involved in the community. I think it was a pretty open forum. Got a lot of good ideas out there for what the YCDC is going to do. You know, I think at the end of the day, it's marketing and advocacy for the area. Lots of ideas, not really a concrete plan to get anything going right now. So I think Rich McTire was pretty vocal about some of the things that he was looking for in the neighborhood. I talked to him offline about certain things that could be done. So lots of ideas, nothing concrete moving forward. But I think really the next step is to put something concrete in place here. We did have an incident with one of our checks that was written to Eric's pavers. Just want to make you guys aware of this. I dropped 2 checks off back in May, Ybor post office. Neither one of them made it to their destination. One was to our accountant. So that was a month and a half ago, never got that check. Another check over there was sent to Eric. He never got it. We had to write him another one. Then it turns out the counterfeit check was resurfaced with that same information and was cashed and processed. So I spent some time at Valley Bank in the last week. The check was written for $46.25. The original check was $16.25. They added a 4 in there. And they didn't modify the check. It was actually a full total counterfeit check that was put together. So we filed a affidavit with them. We're trying to get our money back. It was a mobile deposit. JP Morgan Chase was one that cashed it. So That's both things, so we're fighting to get our money back on that one, so. Come to find out, talking to Valley Bank and Sherry, talking to her for a while, they've had problems with the Ybor City Post Office too, so be careful over there. And I dropped those checks personally in that drop box there,
Did you
so.
talk to the postmaster there?
Yeah.
In the one out in the parking lot? or
Yeah.
inside?
In the parking lot.
Oh,
So,
I use it all.
I know Sherry said she's been over there and talked to them before too, so, when I find some free time, I'll talk to them.
Good to know.
Yeah,
Thank
so words of wise, but just be careful, but we're trying to get that money back, they understand it's fraudulent, counterfeit. And I wanted to see if you had any words.
So our legal department is looking into the pavers. As y'all know, when the paver program started, it was in 1989, before my time. And maybe all of our time here. And at that time, there used to be a services agreement, I faintly remember, between YCDC Inc. and the city of Tampa. And as part of that services agreement was this pavers. So right now, that's all changed over time. So there's not really an agreement in place between YCDC Inc. and the city of Tampa. So they'd asked me, they just reached out to me and said, Brenda, give me some old documents. Where is it? And I can't, so I need to go, I guess you have them in a box someplace, but we've got to looking for the old services agreement to use it as a model. If it doesn't surface, then obviously there's some other examples out there like the Friendsville River Walk and other organizations that have partnered up. So it's just, I think you need to have that established again on so many levels, you know, that you.
If that agreement goes that far back, I'll take a look and see what I can take on.
It probably goes back to around 2000, early 2000, somewhere around there. But anyway, I mean, it was a different agreement at the time, but right now, YCDC Inc. as a not-for-profit needs to have an agreement with the city to bring neighbors. And it doesn't have to be overly complicated, but I'm helping, you know, Rich and work on that and get. So I think an attorney's been assigned to you.
Me?
That's a good thing. It's a good thing. Well, good to see you. He knows them all over there, right?
So we're working on that and addressing your question before, I did talk to Eric and Joyce about, you know, can we let the pavers, and a lot of times they just disintegrate and fall right apart, and it's just not a viable solution for them to do a modular system. And it's right away on 7th Avenue, so I think that's a little trickier than say the Riverwalk, which is not really a right away, you know, street. So that's part of the issue, but we're continuing to track that and see if there's new technology that we can do to keep that straightened out. The price has been updated, and sales are down a little bit, but I think it's just because of the summer and people are traveling. So I don't think the prices affect that much. And that's kind of all I have for this report.
Well, we've had a long meeting, but just so you know, in your packet, you have your grants report that we talked about. I'm sorry, it's small. I don't create those reports, but you did get it electronically, and I can also, you know, send it to y'all if you need a bigger version. I mean, I just blow it up on 11 by a bigger version. So that's there. The projects team, they put their report in here as well. I don't know if Melissa is still with us. We did have her online. If there's any questions about projects team, I'm not sure. She may have dropped off. But I just got a report. I got an updated report on the project team I'll send over to you, as well as some activity, of course, on Gasworks. There's some things that are obvious. Well, you see it every day. I'm sure all of y'all see what's going on, but there's some things that they're moving along with, and some deadlines and some good stuff. So the dust will settle at some time in the future, but you can see.
I'm happy to report that. I mean,
if you want to,
it's in front of our building. So I would say that anytime I've reached out to the developers or the construction, about like specifically dust and dirt moving down Fifth Avenue, they're implementing street sweeping in the morning before the cars are lined up along that street. And they did it this morning. They've been very receptive to doing whatever they can today they're pouring one of their first elevator shafts in, so they had concrete trucks lined up and constantly filling in. And we had a pickup, and I just asked, you know, the construction person was in charge, and just asked if they needed it, you know, what we could do to manage it. And they said, just let us know if we need to move, and we'll move them. And we ended up making it without having to do that. Timing worked out well, but they've been very receptive and working with us at least as a business, so.
They've been keeping the pedestrian walkway through the site open, which is good. So I'm able to walk to the gym in the morning through there, and as they've constructed, they've built temporary walkways and the like, low quality, but still you're able to walk through the site, which is good. Right, I would not say they're exactly ADA compliant, but, yeah, they're.
I do think that's gonna be an issue soon. I mean, it's already almost an issue where like I bike through there regularly and I don't really think it's a great solution. I did reach out to Kettler to see if they would just pave the strip on the north side of Adamo, basically from 15th to Channelside Drive, so that pedestrians and bikes could just bypass the whole site altogether. Because we don't want to be in the middle of an active construction zone because stuff is flying overhead. They don't want us.
They don't want you there either.
Right.
Yeah.
So doing some quick little interim measure would get pedestrians and bikers out of that.
Maybe ask for lay an asphalt path.
Yeah.
That could be
Super
taken
easy,
up
done in a
very
day,
easily.
yeah.
And it's meant to be temporary, probably.
Yeah.
They're open to feedback. That seems to be working with,
Gaffy, I don't know who do you?
a different person.
Okay.
So that's,
They're building.
I know. Thank you, Brittany. I know you see it, and it's actually good to go down to her place or, take a moment to look at it. Because this is like history, you're seeing the shell of what's happened with the building there and how it's all transforming. So it's really kind of fascinating for those that take interest in that. Because
If you go there, grab a beer.
and of course, grab a beer, with your dog, hang out. I like the business signage. I saw that, which is good. You always, all the businesses, even bigger places, business signage.
Yeah,
On
I'm sure
15th Street.
Chris can tell us more, but as far as the deliverables, I don't know if you want to say anything about timelines or anything.
Oh. I don't have some, we're
Yeah.
still I would say 2 years out from, it's gonna be in phases.
2027 is the latest timeframe that I heard, that's still the same.
The other just report, housing, I don't give you a housing report because I don't have much. Actually, there's not much in terms of no one has applied for, I think one person has applied for a housing down payment of historic rehab in the Ybor 2 area. They're working through that process. We are still looking for strategic properties, and I may be able to bring something to y'all in August on that. Looking to do affordable housing if we can, in Ybor City somewhere. So that's still on the horizon, but there has, again, this place keeps sharing those programs. I drive around, I see houses out there that could use it and they would just apply for it. So, it's available. And then last but not least, under me, I've taken on more. I now the program, I take on all the programs now. So we used to have our grants team doing that. So the YES team, the pressure washing team, I get calls about all sorts of stuff. I've always kind of had my hand in it, but now I'm officially it. So, we're program heavy in Ybor, as y'all know, with our YES team. And if y'all don't know, there's pressure washers out there at 3 a.m. in the morning. I haven't done my site visit yet, but I will be Batwoman and come out and make sure he's doing his job, which he seems to be. So we're.
Yeah, he's really good, very receptive with us. We work very well with him. So if there's any issues or things like that, having that kind of mobile equipment quickly, it has been a big help, and he's always willing to help go address issues quickly.
Right. And just after the fact, we did host the Conference of Mayors. We weren't really directly involved with that, but they did come for a Friday night event, and I heard it went well, and that our district looked really well and really good. So that was kind of it was nice to expose Ybor City to such a national group, let's just say. So that's it.
Okay, no new business, any announcements? Next CRA board meeting is the 21st of July. I think there's some agenda items up there that will be covered.
Yeah, that'll be the CRA board. I'll send you guys an email with the uploads of what's going on with the finance team.
Okay, and our next CAC is in 2 months. We're off for July, so everyone have a good vacation. Any other comments or?
Brenda, I won't be able to make the 24th meeting. I'll be in Norway.
You mean?
August 24th.
Oh, that's CRA board.
CAC.
is 26.
You
You can't go to Norway.
I'll be in Norway.
Jealous, take us all with you.
The Olympics there?
Joy.
What is there?
No,
Some big event or?
No, just gonna go on a trip. We're
Just
gonna
going,
check
love
out
it.
Sweden, Norway, and spend some time in Switzerland.
We'll take lots of pictures and share with you.
Oh, I will. I promise.
We live vicariously through you.
You have the Legacy Awards last weekend, 2 weekends ago, it's a, for, people.
Yeah, I heard, no one's here from the museum,
Hello.
I mean.
They said he didn't go.
Sorry, not seeing from, I'm talking about the,
Nobody that matters.
I mean, honestly, one.
Yeah, so you know what other business?
Again.
Yeah,
I know,
I didn't go.
yeah, it kind of snuck up on us this time, it
They're
seems, like I
quiet,
usually.
it was low key group.
It was Richard DiPietro,
So, from
I
the-
won Smart,
He's a,
WEDU won the Ybor. The sports guy, I forget the other one.
And Phil from the visitor information system.
Phil Sauerbaum,
Yeah.
right.
He won,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, it's always a nice event.
I forget it was the spokesman for the Rays or somebody like that. I forget. No, it was a nice turnout. It was a
Yeah.
crowd, yes.
Great.
Food was good, fortunately.
Always. All right, so you know what other business? We are adjourned. Everyone take care. Thank you.
Have a wonderful summer.
Hey, Rich, you got a second? You want to ask you a question? So Brenda, I mentioned that because you know that I'm here.
Kind of a little buddy.
Oh, yeah, not,
I've been,
I'll
I
get
just-
down.
I wonder if you got it.
You're always here, you're not here.
I know it's the first time.
And you know what, I follow on Facebook, you just exactly.
That's true, fair enough. You'll know where I'm at.
That sounds like a bucket list. Y'all are going for like tourists?
Yeah. Get those over there right now.
They're in Norway. Wilkes came through, so they left Amsterdam today. They traveled from, and then they're doing three stops in Norway.
Thursday, it's past Thursday. I've been gone for like 5 days.
Iceland, they're back, Reykjavik.
Yeah.
Oh, boys?
Girl.
Girl.
Yes, 8 pounds for you. Ivy Marie.
Congratulations.
I appreciate that.
Oh my gosh.
I'm that old.
45. Anything about.
Exactly,
I'm just trying to.
we try to.
I see a little more grain in this beard.
I hear ya.
Case from my house. For doing a gentleman.
How much are you?
35, 25.
Yeah.